Hello, I'm Michelle Yanachan, and this is Fast Track's Insider Guide with my top travel tips from around the world. It's one of the biggest events on the international sailing calendar. Perth in Western Australia is hosting the ISAF Sailing World Championships. The world's best Olympic-class sailors will be competing in December for both a world title and a chance to represent their country at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Western Australia's summer weather and the infamous wind known as the Fremantle Doctor should provide an ideal test for sailors and guarantee a world-class display for spectators too. They were two historic Antarctic expeditions, and December marks the 100th anniversary when Norwegian Roald Amundsen reached the South Pole, 1 month ahead of Briton Robert Falcon Scott. Their achievements happened at a time of year also best for visitors today who come to Antarctica, the coldest, driest and windiest place in the world. The cruise season has already begun, but it's December and January which are my favourite months for the first seal pups, penguin chicks and more frequent whale sightings. Is the end of the world nigh? Well, on a recent trip to Mexico, some locals I met were fearfully looking ahead to next year when the ancient calendar of the Mayans comes to an end. Others say 2012 simply represents the start of a new cycle. But either way, it's a notable year for the Mayan people, whose heritage can be found across Central America.
First of all, I can say, if you know a little bit about mathematics, do you know who were the people they discovered the concept of the zero? The Mayans were. Talking about calendars, do you know who made the most perfect calendar in the past? The Mayans were.
Well, that was Fernando telling me why the Mayan culture is so special. There are some extraordinary ruins around the Yucatan Peninsula, away from the better-known crowded sites, Chichen Itza and Tulum. On January 1st, the Dakar Rally begins, bringing together some of the world's greatest long-distance drivers, as well as amateurs. In 2012, the Dakar will for the first time begin on the coast of the Atlantic and end on the Pacific, 9,000 kilometers crossing Argentina, Chile and Peru. The cows are coming home. In Mali, northeast of the capital Bamako, the town of Diafarabe is celebrating the return of its herdsmen and their cattle, heading back home after the rainy season. This is a time of great celebration for the people of the inner Niger Delta, with music, poetry, dancing and feasting, and young women wear their finest clothes and jewellery to welcome back the herdsmen. The cattle crossing tradition has been recognised by the UN as a World Cultural Heritage event. And the Bolshoi is back. The Moscow Theatre has just reopened its doors after 6 years and millions of dollars of restoration work. Frescoes have been touched up, gold leaf replaced, and the orchestra pit enlarged. Over the Christmas period, taking to the stage, there'll be the Tsar's Bride and Eugene Onegin. But what could be better than the Nutcracker at this time of year? A Russian Christmas and Tchaikovsky at the Bolshoi. Sounds like a perfect trip. And there are 2 shows on December 25th. Well, thanks for checking in with my Insider Guide this month. Until next time, happy travelling.
My mother used to call it second-hand. Today, we call it vintage. Those previously owned clothing treasures that these days even celebrities are only too proud to wear. But where do you find the best stuff? Well, according to those in the know, Toronto in Canada. Theopi Scarlottos dusted off her purse and went to find some bargains.
Feeling good was easy now when he sang the blues. You know, feeling good was good enough for me. Good enough for me and my Bobby again.
Rewind back to the late 1960s, and that's when the vintage movement in Toronto all started. The Summer of Love brought with it a group of hippies determined to spread the love and also fashion. Reusing beautiful things was their mantra, and they made it their aim to stop mass consumption. Today, the small community of shops they set up has sprawled across most areas of the city. Vintage in Toronto is much cheaper than in many other cities. There's lots of it, and there's something for everybody. The trick is, though, to know exactly what it is you're looking for.
In Toronto, if you're looking for high-end vintage or name designer brands, then Yorkville's really the place to go. You can get great pieces, including really interesting, unique wedding pieces like this one. It's absolutely gorgeous, and no one else will have your wedding dress. If you're looking for more affordable, mid-range, and a thrill of the find, then Queen West, Ossington, and Kensington are the places to go.
All of the vintage shopping areas are easily accessible in Toronto, either by walking or by taking the streetcar. Kensington is by far the most colourful area of them all.
Those actually look pretty good on you. These are a little bit crooked. I can't actually get it on my head.
$30.51.
Now you're singing with the swing, 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 swing.
A lot of effort has gone into bringing you Toronto's finest vintage.
Oh, now you're singing with the swing.
Often immaculately kept, people come from all over the world in search of it.
But here's something.
Vintage collectors here say 1950s prom dresses are a great investment, especially now they're getting more and more difficult to find. Down the road, just off Queen Street, is Keelan.
Typical kind of biker coats, sequins, leopard, oversized furs.
She's been shopping vintage since she learnt to walk. She's just opened her second store, a concept store which changes its theme every month. This month, it's icons: Kate Moss, Audrey Hepburn, and Calamity Jane.
The woman who's carrying the shotgun, wrapped in a blanket, wearing the pants that women didn't wear, wrapped in fur, with her hardcore boots and her satchels and her whiskey.
Keelan picks everything herself, and the process can be very secretive and competitive.
I'd be like literally camping out in the parking lot, like waiting to see what other buyers were going to show up. How was I going to get in there first? And you have to do it with tact. I do wear like a dust mask. There are chemicals. There is like mold in the air. It's you have to expose yourself to that stuff if you're going to be dealing with the kind of. It's just the way it is.
Hey, Baba Reba. Hey, Baba Reba. Hey, Baba Reba.
And if after all that shopping you still have time to spare, you may want to squeeze in a few sights. Luckily, a group of designers known as the Deadly Nightshades combine the two pastimes in a very unique style spin. They run bike tours every month that take you behind the scenes of Toronto's fashion scene.
We decided to host the Style Spin so that we could share our love of fashion and of cycling in Toronto with our friends and with people who love the same things as us.
Of course, you might want to leave your very best vintage at home on this occasion.
Theopisca Lotos in Toronto's world-renowned vintage clothing shops. And that's all we've got time for this week, I'm afraid. Do join us again next time.
When 20 years after the breakup of the Soviet Union, I returned to my old student digs to find out how the freedom to travel has changed life in the motherland.
And if you're hungry for more in the meantime, you can go to our website at bbc.com/fasttrack. And for even more tips and destinations, try bbc.com/travel.
Where this week the focus is on smartphone cameras. With mobile pictures like these, is there really any point in the old-fashioned point and shoot?
But until next time, wherever your travels take you next, enjoy them. Bye-bye.